Well, I guess every driver for miles around had caught Teddy Bear's call, and that little crippled boy was having a ball.
Red Sovine was the king of country trucker songs, a voice that carried the heartbreak of the open road. But behind the legendary hits lay a life filled with struggle of its own, leading to the sad end of the country music star. What really happened? Join us as we delve into the tragic life of this iconic performer. Pursuing passion. Woodrow Wilson Sovine entered the world on July 17, 1918, in the city of Charleston, West Virginia. His brownish-red hair made it inevitable that he would be given the most common nickname reserved for those with such a vibrant feature. Red Sovine, as he would later be widely known, grew up in a family of 7, including his 2 brothers and 2 sisters. His father, Alonzo Sovine, worked as a steam engineer, specializing in operating large construction machinery. While this was a lucrative profession at the time of Red's birth, technological advancements brought about by gasoline and diesel-powered machinery soon turned fortune against the Sovine family, making life increasingly difficult. Red's mother, Rebecca West Sovine, was musically inclined, a talent that would deeply influence her children. She played the harmonica and concertina with skill, though she never pursued music as a profession. Rebecca instilled a love of music in Red and his siblings, teaching them to play the guitar and sharing with them the melodies of older hymns and popular songs from the 19th century. She also introduced them to the early recordings of Jimmie Rodgers and Jimmy Davis, fostering a deep appreciation for these musical pioneers. Music was an ever-present force in Red's life, and his world was further enriched by his mother's cousin, Billy Cox. Known as the Dixie Songbird, Cox was an accomplished musician. Cox frequently performed on Charleston's Wobu radio station, later WCHS, starting in 1929. In that same year, Cox began recording for the Jeanette label, and his success grew steadily throughout the early 1930s. Recording with ARC and Columbia Records, Cox became well known for his hit compositions, including Sparkling Brown Eyes and Filipino Baby. Red had the unique privilege of accompanying his cousin to the radio station and to live performances in and around Charleston. These experiences gave him a front-row seat to the magic of live music and the inner workings of the radio world. Immersed in this musical environment, it was only natural for Red to yearn for a guitar of his own. When he was 12, Red boldly told his father he wanted to learn to play the instrument. His father, Alonzo, was hesitant to invest without proof of his son's determination. To earn his guitar, Red practiced with a friend who visited the Sovine home and taught him a few basic chords. When he had mastered 3 chords, Red proudly demonstrated his newfound skills to his father. True to his word, Alonzo bought him a guitar, a resonator model that cost $12, a major investment at the time. Red's enthusiasm for music blossomed immediately. The family barn became his makeshift stage, where he performed pretend radio shows. He sang songs, read the news, delivered commercials, and even practiced telling jokes, refining his craft in a space where his imagination could run wild. By the mid-1930s, Red had performed so many pretend shows that he was ready to take the leap into professional music. He teamed up with his childhood friend Johnny Bales, and together they became Smiley and Red the Singing Sailors. Johnny came from a family of musicians and was no stranger to performing. Johnny had appeared on Charleston's WCHS radio station and sung in churches with his brothers as part of the Bales Brothers hymn singers. Smiley and Red, however, focused on the popular music of the time, including songs by Jimmie Rodgers. Their performances took them to church socials, parties, and dances. The duo even entered and won a $15 prize at a talent show sponsored by a Charleston department store, a windfall they quickly spent in a single evening. Their partnership, however, was short-lived. Around this time, Red's family moved to Eleanor, West Virginia, a newly constructed community about 30 miles upriver. Eleanor was part of a New Deal initiative designed to provide housing, farming opportunities, and industrial incentives to struggling families. This government experiment aimed to rebuild rural America by offering hope and resources to impoverished communities. While Eleanor offered a fresh start for the Sovine family, it meant the end of Smiley and Red as a duo. Johnny Bales moved on to pursue other opportunities, eventually joining the Baileys brothers, a group that would become well known in its own right. Red, meanwhile, focused on building his own life. He married, found work as a supervisor at a hosiery factory, and continued to nurture his love of music. Encouraged by his old friend Bales, Red gathered a new group, the Echo Valley Boys, and kept his connection to music alive by singing on Charleston radio. These early years in Red Sovine's life were filled with challenges, transitions, and formative experiences. From the influence of a musically gifted mother and a famous cousin, To the struggles of growing up in a working-class family during a time of rapid industrial change, Red's story is one of determination and passion. His journey shows the importance of familial support and the transformative power of music. The Old Syrup Sopper. For years, people affectionately referred to him as the Old Syrup Sopper. The origin of that peculiar nickname, along with the journey that led him to country music stardom, is as captivating as it is unlikely. Red, a towering figure with a booming voice, shared the tale with a hearty laugh that shook his entire frame, painting a vivid picture of his early struggles and eventual success in the industry. Back in the mid-1940s, Red was living what many would consider a stable and prosperous life. He held the role of superintendent at a hosiery mill in West Virginia, earning an impressive $12,000 annually. For the time, this was a significant income, providing financial security and comfort, but something restless stirred within him. During a vacation, he ventured to Shreveport, Louisiana on a whim, and decided to audition for the Louisiana Hayride, a popular country music radio show. It wasn't a calculated move, it was simply for fun, a spur-of-the-moment decision to see if he had what it took. Much to his surprise, the station expressed interest in hiring him. Encouraged by this unexpected opportunity, Red made a bold choice. In the fall of 1948, he walked away from his stable job, packed up his family, and set off for Shreveport. He arrived with high hopes, a new band, a shiny car, a house trailer, and $5,000 in savings, a substantial reserve for the journey ahead. Yet when he reached Shreveport, he was greeted with an unwelcome surprise. The station manager who had offered him the job had been fired, and no one there even knew of his plans to join them. Despite the setback, the station eventually decided to give him a small slot, a 10-minute radio show at 5 minutes past 5 in the morning, right after the weather report. Life quickly became challenging. Within 3 months, Red had burned through most of his savings. The promising future he had envisioned seemed to be slipping through his fingers. He was forced to send his wife and children back to West Virginia, disband his group, and face the stark reality of his risky situation. Struggling to find his footing, Red began performing early morning shows with Hank Williams, who recognized his talent and wanted to lend a helping hand. Hank called a radio station in Montgomery, Alabama, where he had once worked, and arranged for Red to audition. Knowing Hank's reputation and popularity in Montgomery, Red felt hopeful. For his audition, he chose to perform 2 of Hank's songs, relying on his ability to mimic Hank's style with impressive accuracy. The gamble paid off, and Red was offered a position. Though he had landed a job, Red's early days in the music business were still fraught with hardship. Despite his booming voice and commanding presence, he found himself living hand-to-mouth. He only received his payment on Wednesdays, and by the following Tuesday, he often had to borrow some money from one of the announcers just to buy a loaf of bread. The struggle weighed heavily on him, but Red persevered, driven by his passion for music and his determination to make a name for himself. Everything began to change in 1949, a very significant year in Red's career. That was the year Hank Williams recorded Lovesick Blues, a song that skyrocketed to fame and earned Hank an invitation to join the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. With Hank moving on to greater opportunities, a vacancy opened up at the Louisiana Hayride. Recognizing Red's potential, the show's producers invited him to fill the spot. This time, Red was determined not to relive the financial struggles he had endured before. He negotiated a guaranteed salary of $250 a month, ensuring that he wouldn't face starvation again. Red's new role at the Louisiana Hayride brought with it another opportunity, a daily radio show sponsored by Johnny Fair Syrup. It was during these early morning broadcasts that the idea for the Syrup Soppers Club was born. Red and his team encouraged listeners to write in and join the club. In return, members received a signed membership card, a photograph of Red, and a small sample bottle of Johnny Fair syrup. Red took on the role of Chief Sopper, a title that delighted his young audience. The response was extraordinary, far exceeding anyone's expectations. Over time, the Syrup Soppers Club grew to an astonishing 55,000 members. The club's success was fueled by Red's charm, charisma, and the loyalty of his listeners, particularly children who eagerly embraced the idea. His relatable, folksy persona made him a beloved figure on the airwaves. Red's modest 10-minute show at 15 minutes past 7 in the morning became a hit, and his efforts had a tangible impact. Within 3 months, Johnny Fair syrup sales skyrocketed, increasing by nearly 250%. all thanks to Red's engaging on-air persona and the enthusiasm of his young audience. The nickname Old Syrup Sopper became a badge of honor for Red, a symbol of his resourcefulness and his ability to turn a modest opportunity into something remarkable. Despite the difficulties he faced in those early years, Red looked back on his journey with humor and a sense of pride. His booming laughter and larger-than-life voice could make even the toughest moments seem like part of a grand adventure. His story was one of risk, resilience, and a deep love for music, coupled with an ability to connect with people in a way that felt warm. Red's story is a vivid reminder of the unpredictable paths that lead to success. It's a tale of how a seemingly small opportunity could transform into a career-defining moment. Through grit and ingenuity, Red turned a challenging situation into a thriving venture, leaving a lasting legacy that resonated with thousands of fans who proudly called themselves Syrup Soppers. So what inspired his truck-driving songs? Finding a niche. Red Sovine remains an enduring figure in country music, revered especially among British fans for his heartfelt truck-driving songs that told vivid, touching stories. However, Red's journey to becoming a beloved country music storyteller was anything but straightforward. The 6-foot-tall artist began building his legacy long before his iconic trucking ballads captured the imagination of his audience. In 1955, Red's career took a different turn when he collaborated with Goldie Hill for the duet Are You Mine? This partnership marked the beginning of his rise to prominence, with the track reaching the top 15 on the country charts. Shortly thereafter, he joined forces with Webb Pierce for 2 more chart-topping singles. The song Why Baby Why, a cover of George Jones's classic, and Little Rosa, an eye-watering narrative that quickly became a staple of Red's live performances. Even years later, Little Rosa resonated deeply, particularly on the Liverpool country music scene, where it became a fan favorite, performed by acts like the Hillsiders and Phil Brady and the Ranchers. Red's relationship with Webb Pierce proved pivotal. Pierce, an established country star and fellow Louisiana hayride performer, played a crucial role in Red's early career. Seeing Red's talent, Pierce persuaded him to take over leadership of his Wondering Boys band. This opportunity not only honed Red's skills as a band leader, but also led to a recording contract with Decca Records in 1954. By the mid-1950s, Red was a rising star, achieving his first #1 hit with Why Baby Why and earning a coveted spot at the Grand Ole Opry. Yet, despite his growing success, the road ahead was far from smooth. The late 1950s brought both triumphs and tragedies. Red recorded nearly 50 tracks with Decca by 1959, sealing his place in the country music scene. However, his career was abruptly interrupted by a devastating car accident that year. The crash claimed the lives of 2 of his band members, Douglas Nix and Johnny Morris, and left Red seriously injured. This tragedy was a turning point, forcing him to recalibrate his career. Moving to Start A Records, Red embarked on a new chapter, performing on the club circuit as a solo artist. By the 1960s, Red's career had hit a rock. While he continued to record and perform, mainstream success eluded him for several years. Despite this setback, he made a notable contribution to pop music in 1961 when a ballad he co-wrote with Dale Noe, Missing You, became a hit for Ray Peterson. The song's countrypolitan arrangement appealed to a broader audience, peaking at number 29 on the Billboard Top 100 and climbing to number 7 on the Adult Contemporary chart. Even as his own career faced challenges, Red remained committed to supporting emerging artists. In 1963, he extended a helping hand to Charlie Pride, a minor league baseball player with a promising voice. Red encouraged Pride to move to Nashville and introduced him to key industry players, demonstrating his generosity and belief in the power of mentorship. Red's fortunes began to change in 1965 when he discovered his true niche, truck-driving songs. These spoken-word narratives, often co-written with Tommy Hill, tapped into the ethics of the American long-haul trucker, capturing their struggles, triumphs, and heartaches. The release of Giddy Up Go marked a transformative period. This emotional tale of a seasoned truck driver reuniting with his estranged son through a chance highway encounter resonated deeply with audiences, spending 6 weeks atop the country charts. The song even inspired Minnie Pearl to release an answer track, Giddy Up Go Answer, highlighting its cultural impact. The success of Giddy Up Go paved the way for more truck driving hits. Phantom 309 told the haunting story of a hitchhiker who unknowingly accepts a ride from the ghost of a heroic trucker who had sacrificed his life to save a school bus full of children. This tale of selflessness and spectral mystery captured the imagination of listeners and inspired adaptations, including Tom Waits's Big Joe and Phantom 309. Another standout, Teddy Bear, tugged at heartstrings with its story of a disabled boy who used his CB radio to connect with truckers after losing his father in a highway accident. Red's ability to blend sentimentality with relatable themes earned him a dedicated following, particularly in Britain, where his music resonated deeply with country fans. Though he experienced periodic success, Red's career was characterized by its unpredictability. Starday Records provided a refuge for artists who had faded from the spotlight, and Red found himself in the company of figures like Johnny Bond, the Willis Brothers, and Cowboy Copas. During this time, he continued to record and tour, proving his resilience in the face of changing industry trends. His later years were marked by reflective, heartfelt songs that maintained his connection with fans, songs that he eventually lived. Tragically, in 1980, while driving through southern Nashville on April 4, Red suffered a fatal heart attack. The medical emergency caused him to run a red light and collide with another vehicle, driven by 25-year-old Edgar Prim. Both drivers were rushed to St. Thomas Hospital, where Prim was treated for minor injuries. Sadly, Red succumbed to massive abdominal bleeding caused by internal injuries. His demise marked the end of a remarkable career that had spanned decades, leaving behind a legacy defined by perseverance, generosity, and the power of storytelling. Red's music continues to endure, particularly his truck driving ballads, which remain a touchstone for fans of narrative-driven country music. His ability to weave touching, emotionally charged stories into his songs set him apart, making his work a proof of the enduring appeal of country music's storytelling tradition. Red's career was a journey of highs, lows, and stability. Turns out that in this modern day, his songs have become a topic of controversy. Controversy surrounding Red Sovine's Teddy Bear. Red Sovine, an iconic figure in country music, is most famously remembered for his narrative songs, particularly those celebrating truck drivers and their culture. Among these, his 1976 hit, Teddy Bear.
At the crossroads tonight where you flagged him down, there was a busload of kids.
While the song was initially praised for its emotional storytelling and portrayal of human kindness, contemporary audiences have raised critical issues regarding its language, themes, and implications for societal values. The song stands out as both a sentimental favorite and a source of modern-day controversy. This has caused critics and audiences to explore the controversies surrounding Teddy Bear, examining the evolution of societal norms, language sensitivity, child welfare, and broader safety concerns, which have reframed how the song is perceived today. Teddy Bear tells the story of a young, disabled boy who communicates with truckers over CB radio after the demise of his father, a former truck driver. The boy, nicknamed Teddy Bear, reveals that he is confined to a wheelchair and lives with his overworked mother. In the song, he expresses his longing to experience life on the road, like his father once did before losing his life in a highway accident. Moved by his story, truckers rally together to fulfill his wish, visiting his home and taking him for rides in their trucks. Upon its release, the song resonated deeply with audiences, reaching #1 on Billboard's Hot Country Singles chart and achieving crossover success. It became symbolic of trucker friendship and the spirit of selfless kindness. Despite its popularity, Teddy Bear has not aged gracefully in the eyes of modern listeners. Many of the elements that once endeared the song to fans have drawn criticism in recent years, as evolving social attitudes have reshaped our understanding of language, disability representation, child safety, and appropriate storytelling. One of the most prominent criticisms of Teddy Bear revolves around its language. The song refers to the boy as crippled, a term widely considered offensive today. While such language may have been commonplace in the 1970s, societal attitudes toward disability have shifted significantly over the decades. Advocacy groups and individuals with disabilities emphasize the importance of using respectful, person-first language that emphasizes humanity rather than limitations. For instance, terms like A child with a different ability are now preferred over words like crippled, which carry negative connotations and reinforce outdated stereotypes. Critics argue that the song's language reflects a broader issue with how individuals with disabilities have been portrayed in the media. In Teddy Bear, the boy is depicted primarily as an object of pity, defined by his disability and neediness rather than his individual personality or agency. This portrayal, while emotionally powerful, perpetuates a narrative that reduces people with disabilities to their struggles, rather than presenting them as multifaceted individuals with strengths and aspirations beyond their physical challenges. Another controversial aspect of Teddy Bear lies in its depiction of the boy's home life. Teddy Bear's mother is described as working long hours to support the family, leaving him alone at home. This scenario, while reflective of the economic hardships faced by many families, raises concerns about child supervision and welfare. In the modern context, this aspect of the story may be seen as troubling, particularly for a child with special needs who requires additional care and support. Critics note that the song does not explore the systemic issues contributing to the family's struggles, such as inadequate social support for single-parent households or individuals with disabilities. Instead, it places the burden of resolving Teddy Bear's plight on the goodwill of individual truckers. While this act of kindness is touching, it emphasizes the lack of societal infrastructure to ensure the safety and well-being of vulnerable children like Teddy Bear. Perhaps the most significant criticism of Teddy Bear stems from the actions of the truckers who visit the boy and take him for rides. In the 70s, this gesture was seen as a heartwarming demonstration of community spirit. However, in today's world, heightened awareness of child safety and the risks associated with unsupervised interactions between children and strangers casts these actions in a different light. Modern child protection standards emphasize the importance of safeguarding children from potential exploitation or harm. The idea of a group of truck drivers, who are strangers to the boy and his family, entering his home and taking him on unsupervised trips would raise serious red flags today. While the truckers in the song are portrayed as trustworthy, contemporary audiences may view the scenario as risky. This shift in perspective highlights how societal norms and awareness have evolved. What was once seen as a harmless act of generosity is now scrutinized through the lens of child safety, illustrating the changing priorities and concerns of modern society. Critics argue that while Teddy Bear was well-intentioned, it reflects a simplistic and paternalistic approach to storytelling. The controversies surrounding Teddy Bear are evidence of broader changes in cultural norms and values. In the decades since the song's release, society has become more attuned to issues of representation, inclusivity, and safety. These shifts have led to a reevaluation of media and cultural artifacts that fail to align with contemporary standards. The song positions the truckers as saviors and the boy as a passive recipient of their charity, reinforcing a power dynamic that can be seen as problematic. In contrast, modern narratives about disability and hardship often emphasize empowerment and change rather than relying on individual acts of heroism to address societal issues. Despite these criticisms, many fans and defenders of Teddy Bear argue that the song's message of kindness and compassion remains relevant. They contend that the truckers' actions exemplify the best of humanity, demonstrating how small, selfless acts can make a profound difference in someone's life. From this perspective, the song is not about systemic change or political correctness, but about the enduring value of empathy and community. Additionally, some argue that the criticisms of the song risk imposing contemporary standards on a work created in a different cultural context. While the song may not align with modern sensibilities, it reflects the values of its time and should be understood within that framework. Red Sovine's Teddy Bear remains a poignant and divisive work, celebrated for its emotional resonance but criticized for its outdated language and problematic themes. The controversies surrounding the song highlight the ways in which cultural norms and values evolve, reshaping our understanding of what constitutes appropriate and respectful narrations. Red Sovine's legacy lies in his ability to blend country music with heartfelt storytelling, earning him a reputation as a pioneer of truck driving songs. His emotionally charged narratives captured the struggles, sacrifices, and humanity of everyday Americans, particularly truckers. These songs resonated deeply with audiences, creating a subgenre that remains influential within country music. Sovine's use of spoken word performances set him apart, allowing his rich baritone voice to convey raw emotion and connect on a personal level with listeners. His stories of love, loss, and perseverance offered comfort and relatability, making him a voice for the working class. His contributions during country music's golden era, including collaborations with other stars, helped shape the genre's evolution. Even after his passing, Red Sovine's work continues to resonate, preserving his reputation as a masterful storyteller and a beloved figure in country music history. His songs remain an illustration of the power of music to touch hearts and immortalize human experiences. Sovine was married to the former Norma Searles, who passed away in 1976 at the age of 57. Together they had 3 sons, William, Michael, who passed on in 1988, and Roger, and a daughter, Janet. They were also survived by 12 grandchildren at the time of Red Sovine's passing. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.